Hello and welcome. I want to ask this question. What do you think about the way people view the lives of other people? Like in this part of the world, people are so, I don't want to say, because I don't belong to either sides. There is a young man who is a Ghanaian and has made a fortune, and he's making a little gesture in our collective efforts against coronavirus. And if you don't know this gentleman, I'm sure you've seen some of the beautiful structures in the capital city of Accra. Perhaps you didn't know he was the brain behind those structures, but he is. I credit this to Ghana Web. GhanaWeb.com is a go-to website for major news articles. The gentleman is called Nana Kwame Bediako, and the caption is Real Estate Mogul offers luxury Oxford Street Hotel to be used as coronavirus hospital. Since the outbreak of this virus, many people have been doing gestures, reaching out to people who have been so badly impacted by coronavirus. The real estate mogul, Nana Kwame Bediako, he is also called Cheddar, has joined the fight against the outbreak of the novel COVID-19 that has triggered a global health scare and jolted the global economy. Bediako has pledged one of his premier properties on Oxford Street to be converted into hospitals to treat patients amid the outbreak of coronavirus. And this structure is so beautiful. As soon as you get to the Dankwa Circle, when you are entering into Osu, just opposite Kuala, it's a very beautiful structure. It's white in color and it has got a Ferrari. I'm told the first owner or user of the Ferrari was Cristiano Ronaldo. Then there was a second owner or so, and the gentleman at some point bought it. So that one too is in full display. The intent maybe is to exhibit the luxury of the hotel suites, and also maybe to encourage people to want to dream and aim a high. And Nana Kwame Bediako, they call him Cheddar. He came out not too long ago to talk about how he made his fortunes. And people keep asking questions. People keep interrogating as to how people have made their money. That is between them and their creator. But the gentleman is only saying that he's going to offer one of his properties in the capital in case there is the need and there is an overflow of sick people. The state or government can freely use that property, and it's a luxury suite. From Dankwa Circle entering into Osu, you will see it there. The property will be used as a quarantine location, an isolation center, or a temporary hospital. That is the offer he is making. The real estate developer, Nana Kwame Bediako, also known as Freedom Jacob Caesar, you remember some of the videos, take time and then check out some of his videos with Mayweather, and also presentations he has made in at least one UK institution of higher learning I saw. He tries his best to represent Africa. He dresses, with animal skin and all that, typically African. And he's also called Freedom Jacob Caesar. Said he is offering his 5-star luxury service department hotel to be used as a safe place for the medics should the need arise in the country's battle against the spread of coronavirus, which I think is a good gesture. But when you go to the comments section, you realize that some people have some wild ideas, some really wild ideas. I'm indifferent how he made his money. That is between him and his maker and those he does business with. Whether he made his money well, in whatever way, I don't know why people keep coming up with conspiracy theories. He said he made his money out of scraps. But ever since he granted that interview at this same hotel, some months or weeks, was it months? Some months ago, I think. So many young people, there was an uproar. It was like an eruption by so many young people across this country, saying that, okay, if you made so much from scraps, why have people in Abuglushi who have dealt in scraps for so long not made it the way you have made it? Look, I don't know the gentleman, and I've only seen him online, and I've only read a few things about him that have come out in the news. His connections with Mayweather, and then how he represents Africa. And during the festive season in 2019, only last year, it came out that some portion of Laboma, if not all of it, even though it is a bit, contested, however it may be, belonged to him. And so he's a gentleman who seems to have done well for himself. And as a goodwill gesture, the gentleman says he's offering a 5-star hotel to be used as a quarantine center or an isolation center or even a temporary hospital. And so in case there is this corona thing becomes too overwhelming on the Republic of Ghana, the state can use it. And when you go to the comments section, freedom of expression is good, but it's really is queer, is odd, is weird, and it looks like there are people who are online just waiting for a news article to drop for them to cast aspersions. As I indicated, I don't know the guy. I have no intentions of even knowing him. But the gentleman is only saying, I have a 5-star hotel. Why are we doubting Thomas's? He says, I have a 5-star hotel. In case the state is in need, I'm ready to give it up as a form of goodwill gesture. But people are, making their own deductions. And the guy is a young man. And I believe we are a nation of laws. Of course, everybody and how they have made their money, successful business people belong to a certain league. Everybody and how they have made their money. It is not up to me to interrogate how this gentleman has made his money. That is none of my business. But when you find people, cutting down Ghanaians, look, one of the things we need to realize as young people is this: we can never all be the same. In life, there are people that are who are endowed in areas you have no idea how to excel in. And you as an individual, Allah being so good, He has endowed everybody with a unique talent, with a unique capability. Look at those who work as bus conductors, minibus conductors, mates. Many of them, I'm sure, have never sat in a mathematics class, even at the elementary level. But you are talking about a little over a dozen people, talking to them, telling them where they boarded the bus and where they are alighting, how much money they gave them and what change they should take. And they do it with alacrity. They do it with finesse and panache. And sometimes you can't help but admire them. Somebody gives 50 Ghana cedi note here, another person gave a 20 Ghana cedi note here, someone gave a 5 Ghana cedi note here. And these so-called uneducated bus conductors or mates are able to multitask. If I were in their shoes, I don't think I would be able to execute that role with the kind of, precision they do. That is the talent they are endowed with. There are people who carry cement, they are laborers. They are light years away from success. They will never see success until they die. But the strength they put into the work they do, that is their talent. It's just like girls. You find out that there are young ladies, maybe in their teens. In some families, they are families of hawkers. So they will say, maybe Priscilla and, Dorothy, or Aminatu and Fatimatu, go and sell sachet water. Person A goes out hawking to sell sachet water. She roams the whole neighborhood. Nobody even says to call her to buy it. But person B just steps out of the door or out of the gate, and everybody is calling her. And in no time, she sells all the sachet water. Then it's up to person A, who has failed in that endeavor, to ask herself, what are my unique selling points? What are my capabilities? How can I also excel in other areas? But our problem in this part of the world is Nelson Mandela, rescued his country and he became a hero. Everybody wants to rescue a country. If Nelson Mandela rescued a country to be that successful, do something else that will make you stand out too. And so there is this sense of, ownership, sense of belonging, that no, why is Nanado president? Why at all did Dramani Mahama become president and I didn't become president? People want to, the Quran says, I'm not giving a lecture. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks the people who are asking, if Allah was intended to send a prophet, why this man? Why Prophet Muhammad, for example? May the blessings and peace of God be upon him. They said to him, لولا نزل القرآن على رجل من القريتين عظيم. Why is it that this Quran has not been sent down to a great man from the two prominent tribes and from the two prominent cities? Why him? Why he? People keep questioning. So Allah asks them, أَهُمْ يَقْسِمُونَ رَحْمَةَ رَبِّكَ نَحْنُ قَسَمْنَا بَيْنَهُمْ مَعِيشَتَهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Are they those who will apportion or share the favors of your Lord? I'm not saying every wealthy person you see in Ghana has got their fortunes from God. We know there's dirty money in the system. But I can't give specifics because I don't have any evidence. I can't give specifics because I don't have any evidence. This morning, you will take Cocoa and Kose, for example. Do people have to scrutinize you where you got your money to buy Cocoa and Kose? We are a nation of detectives and investigators. Investigations and detective work that are unsolicited in many cases. So the gentleman says, Corona throws a lot of uncertainties at us. If things get to a head, I have this, apartment, luxury apartment in a hotel suite along the Oxford Street. I willingly would want to use it as a quarantine center or an isolation center or a temporary hospital. And people don't understand why. People have started questioning how the young man came by all of his wealth and all that. But I'm saying, don't try to punch holes into the efforts people are making. If it is too good to be true, find out from them how they made it and find out unique selling points you have. And you don't have to do what everybody does to help Ghana. Maybe yours is to fetch a bucket of water and help a wayfarer. Yours is to even say a nice word to somebody to encourage them to do what they are doing for themselves and their community. That is a form of service. But why does it have to be somebody is doing this and I have everything wrong with the person and what they are doing. I am not here to mount any spirited defense as to how somebody made their pounds or made their dollars or Ghana cedis. That is up to them to render an account to their maker. But then, when people try to pull their weight a bit and become nationalistic, if you even don't throw in a word of commendation, some of the comments are quite, and I'll read some of them to you soon. The gentleman said, I'm sure he was explaining the motivation behind making such an offer to the state. Quote and unquote, we are hoping that the disease does not affect more people in Ghana, but should the need arise, we are preparing to work with government and health organizations to utilize number 1 Oxford Street Hotel and Suites as a center to house victims and or medical personnel. We invested over $50 million. The young man said he and his partners invested over $50 million and spent some time with successful people and understand how money moves around. When someone says, I have invested this much into an investment or into a property, it doesn't mean the whole of the money came from his pocket or his bank accounts. Business people form partnerships. Maybe your own contribution to the partnership is at the architectural level. You can design the property, for example. You are a partner. Maybe your contribution could be at the financing level. You are providing the cash for the project to get off the ground. You are a partner. But because of this poverty mentality, when we hear a staggering figure, everybody runs for cover, asking, oh, how could one individual control that much? Money moves. And when money moves, it doesn't move because individuals own it. Money may move because a coterie of people and companies own that money. And people have shares in companies. So if someone tells you, I sit on top of a business that is worth $200 million, for example, money you and I have never dreamt of, money you and I have never seen and may never see till we go to our graves, it doesn't mean the person speaking readily has that cash. Don't you know there are people sitting in luxury cars and sometimes money to buy petrol is a challenge because it's all about liquidity. Business people move money. And at a given point in time, maybe the business person has thrown all of his money or her money into investments, and the investments have not yet matured. So when you ask the person for even a small amount of money, a paltry physical cash, the person will not be able to provide you. So the guy says, this is an investment worth some $50 million and he's ready. And that doesn't mean he pumped all of the $50 million into the investment. There are partnerships that are forged when you invest. Said we invested over $50 million to complete number 1 Oxford Street, which recently opened. It opened in January, but I'm moved to offer the property to be used for good to help my people during this critical time. End of quote. Mr. Bediako is the founder of Qualis Group, an umbrella company which encompasses Wonderworld Estates, Petronia City Development, New Africa Construction, and Belfast City and Property Management. His offers come at a time that Bishop Gideon Titi offers bid to offer a 100-bed capacity facility in Tema West to COVID-19 fight was protested by his neighbors. The residents expressed concern that the disease being fought is highly contagious and using the facility, which is not an isolation center, could expose residents to the dreaded pandemic. The bishop now says he would look at other options of helping fight the pandemic. and this is my hunch. After reading a news article, make time and go to the comment section. Look, some of the comments are scary. Look, I don't know Cheddar, and I have no intentions of knowing him. Just this dawn, I chanced upon the story. It would have been one of the usual, cursory reading sessions. But the gentleman says this is a huge investment, maybe with his partners, worth 50 million US dollars. And it opened only in January. And look, even if you are not a business mind, you can, sketch your mind around the idea that between January and April, you can hardly recoup $50 million. You can hardly recoup the investment you have made. It takes time. Some investments may take up to half a decade and sometimes a whole decade for you to recoup your initial investment and start making profit. So give or take, this hotel has been operational, and a luxury apartment has been operational for about a quarter. And within a quarter, I doubt if you can recoup 100% of your investment. And the gentleman says, I'm ready to give this out to the state. And listen to the comment. Somebody's caption says, cocaine or occultism. My people, why? Why? I don't know the guy. I don't know how he made his money. I care less, because that is not my responsibility. Every individual would have to render an account how they lived their life and how they made their fortunes. But for the love of my life, can't we be positive for a moment? Look, for anybody who deals in cocaine and makes money, I'll tell the person in the face, you are wrong. Because what you make a luxury out of is destroying other people's lives. It's wrong to be a drug pusher. It's wrong to be involved in the value chain, whatever it may be, within the cocaine business is bad. But what evidence do you have that the individual in question deals in cocaine? Then occultism. This anonymous person, he wrote, and when people pass comments online, they benefit from the privilege of anonymity. So you can use a pseudonym. You are Kofi, you can write something else as your name and then pass comments. And I'm sorry, some of the comments are so bad. So bad. It's like people are waiting, just to write negative things. Cocaine or occultism. Why would you say this? And occultism is bad. Human sacrifice, killing babies and girls and mothers, and using the menstrual parts of women to go do some occultic things to get money. All of those are bad. But please, what evidence, Mr. Texter or commenter, what evidence do you have that this gentleman making this goodwill gesture to the state made money from cocaine or occultism? He wrote, wonders would never end. People don't care if they will sacrifice 100 human beings to get rich overnight. How do you know that the gentleman sacrificed the 100 human beings? Please, let's be very careful. Sometimes people think, oh, if I'm a Christian or I'm a Muslim, the scriptures only say that I'll be held accountable for the things I say. Don't you know the things you type, the negative things you type about people on whatever platform, those two are things you will account for? If you don't have evidence about anything, exercise restraint. Do you think we think every successful person in this country made their fortune in a legit way? Of course, there's filthy money in the system. But what evidence do you have that person A or person B or person C made their fortune out of filth? What evidence do you have that they made their fortune out of cocaine or occultism? We have to be cautious how we go about this. And people responded to this guy. Somebody says, you've started your evil and barbaric way of life. The black man is too superstitious. And another person says, you are rich. Everyone knows that. So build a shelter for the homeless in Ghana, please. I think this is a little suggestion to the gentleman, if he can build a shelter for the homeless. And someone says, tell the homeless shoe shine boys, meaning cobblers, from Tamale to Kejetia, where the Kayaye and the shoe shine boys came from. Okay, so I think the person is indicating where they think a house for a shelter for the homeless should be built. And Bob, how much sense would it make to build a shelter when he has a hotel apartment? He's offering which is going to build under lockdown. How long would it take? And the money could be used in other means, food, medical supplies, etc. Some of the comments are suggestive. They are positive. They suggest urging people to do more to help society. Others too are a no for me. So filled with, I don't know whether hate or whatever, I don't know, venom, I don't know. Then somebody adds, the guy who talked about occultism, he said occult with a question mark, human sacrifice with a question mark, and he answered, not true. Please try coming out of your seeker-draw mentality, for that's all false. People all over the world, including young men and women, engage in business and succeed highly. Some investors have financial backing behind them. Somebody is also passing a comment. Then somebody says, people do engage in it, though it is a fake belief. Yes, people see end results of a person's success. They have no idea of the sacrifices, blood, sweat, and tears endured, while some chasing girls, others chasing their goals and dreams their mindsets revert to. I think the person is making a point that people only look at the end result. They don't look at where the person came from, and what their struggles were. Then somebody said, envy. What is wrong with us? Instead of learning how people get rich, we try to envy. Respect whatever people have to offer. These same people complain about others' success are corrupt, more corrupt than hell. God bless you, Nana Kwame Bediako. And somebody says, thumbs up. Then there is this person, and if I came out to do this video, I think this was the catalyst. Just when this gentleman is making an offer of a property he said they invested $50 million to build, somebody says they have done some work for him and he hasn't paid them. And the point is, when you throw this out, please try and provide some evidence. Because we thrash people's, efforts, and we go back to sleep as if nothing happened only a minute ago. But a text message you send, a word you put out there, may either hurt or benefit somebody. And the person doesn't even know you. But people decide to speak ill of others. And this person says, Nana, we did a job for you, and up till now, you have refused to pay us. Please do not use this hardship the virus has inflicted on us to seek cheap publicity. pay us up for the work that has been done, and to which this guy is saying he's done some work. Maybe the gentleman who is making this offer, Cheddar, maybe he can answer this. But the point is, why would you? And somebody is asking the person to come out with the necessary documentations. Kindly let us know the type of work you did for him, the date, the location, terms of the contract, and the terms of payment. We'll be glad to help you claim your payment. Thank you. So in closing, what I want to say is, yes, Corona has struck, and we don't know from here where else we will be or how things are going to pan out. But there is this inherent desire by a good number of Ghanaians to adopt a wait-and-see attitude. They want to go out to make any effort. When somebody makes the effort, then they now try to punch holes into the efforts the person is making. Look, we are a nation of laws. If you have hardcore evidence about an illegitimate source of wealth somebody has, there are state institutions you can petition. The Ghana Revenue Authority investigates people for tax evasion. We have the Financial Intelligence Center that investigates how monies move and how people make their money. And they have granular, fine information or details as to what is right and what is wrong, what is lawful and what is unlawful. And they are an investigative body, they are a state-mandated body. And there is also YOCO, Economic and Organized Crime Organization. And there are so many other institutions investigating people's wealth and how they came by the wealth. So if you have any reservations, and don't play God, don't be judgmental. How much account have you and I rendered for the 1 Ghana city we have? But when people who are seen as successful people come out to do gestures like this one, the guy says he has a hotel and a luxury apartment suite, and he's ready to give it away as an isolation or a quarantine center or a temporary hospital in this time of Corona. And people are saying this money was made out of this or out of that. Any of the examples you have given are wrong, they are bad. Because when you sacrifice human beings to make money, you're committing murder. If you have evidence that somebody has killed a child to make money, lodge the complaint, have the person arrested, be ready to testify in court so that the person can be taken to the gallows, the person can be taken to jail. But when you sit in the comfort of your room or in the comfort of your office or your workshop and you write things that will hurt the reputation of people, wait a second, there will come a day you would have to answer for those excesses. Look, I can't hold brief for a single rich person, maybe a few people whose source of wealth is clearly defined. Wealth doesn't come overnight. You may inherit a fortune from a wealthy dad. You may come from a long line of wealthy people. There's generational wealth. But there are people who have very humble beginnings and they make money overnight. I am not saying they shouldn't be investigators. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, instead of sitting somewhere and casting aspersions, throwing mud at people, especially when they offer themselves to serve this great nation, when they offer themselves to do good gestures for the Republic of Ghana. If you have evidence that they deal in cocaine, you don't go online to mar their reputation. gather your evidence, go to any of our financial, regulatory institutions. If you think they are evading tax, go to the GRA. If you think they are dealing in cocaine or money laundering, go to the Financial Intelligence Center, go to Yoko and lodge their complaint. But when people sit somewhere, and only God knows how many sleepless nights somebody has had, only God knows the trauma and distress and depression and stress somebody went through to make their money. And we live in a country where people sit at a base. They look at a successful person in their neighborhood. They tell you the person's salary. Sometimes they even say this person makes this much every day. Like somebody is living their lives. And you are rendering an account how they should lead their lives. Go build your own fortune. Don't you have a life of your own to live? We need to get over this thing. It doesn't help anybody. Investigate people when you have doubts about their source of wealth. But please, there are regulatory bodies you can easily walk to. Yoko will not turn you away if you have evidence that somebody deals in cocaine. Yoko will not turn you away if you have evidence that somebody engages in occultism by killing people to make money. And I dare say there is filthy money in the system. But when you don't have evidence to incriminate people, I think it doesn't help when you come online and write negativity about them. So please, let's be cautious the things we type and the things we say, especially about other people. That energy for me can be expended in building your own fortune. That energy, I think, can be used for intellectual nourishment to be a better person yourself, because your individual self should be your priority in terms of building your capacity, in terms of chasing your dreams. But some people are leading their lives and others are calibrating how their lives should be lived. They are rendering an account of how much people are making. And people have this penchant to mention big figures. Oh, don't you know this person made this much from this contract? How much have you made in your own life? How much have you made? How much effort are you putting in to make your own life and the lives of your family better? Those are the questions. Let's not be watchmen over other people. Let's be watchmen over our own selves. The little money you have you asked yourself whether you got it from a wholesome source? Rather than, incriminating people, casting aspersions about how they made their wealth. Be your own judge. Hasibu anfusakum qabla an tuhasabu. The Prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, may the blessings and peace of Allah be upon him, ever said, judge yourselves before you are judged. You are not told to judge other people. So please, let's be careful what we say about people. And as I indicated, there isn't a single person I can say, as for this person, how you made your wealth, the story you have told us, it adds up. So if you are worth this much, it makes sense to me when I put 2 and 2 together. There are only a few such rich people you would want to vouch for. There's dirty money in the system, we know that. But if you know that somebody has made their money through an illegitimate means, please, there are state regulatory institutions you can easily walk up to, rather than sitting somewhere and speaking ill. As you waggle your tongue to speak ill of people, would you be happy if someone spoke ill of you the way you are doing of others? Why are we so not empathetic? Put yourself into the shoes of the person whose wealth you are casting aspersions over. Put yourself into the shoes of the person you are backbiting. Put yourself into the shoes of the person you are spoiling or speaking negatively about behind their back. Would you be happy if you were treated that way? So let's be better people than we are. And when you find out that somebody has made their wealth through an illegitimate means, you can get close to the person. There are so many ways you can talk to the person. You can actually write to the person. And God being so good, I don't see any serious institution where you can write a letter to the CEO or the MD and take to the front desk and the letter will not reach the person. You can make suggestions to people as to how they can be better than they are and how they can serve the community better than they are doing. You can talk to people. If you have evidence that they are engaged in any form of corruption or cocaine or occultism, engage them, talk to them. You don't effect change in society by sitting somewhere and speaking negatively about the society itself. Be an agent of change. Some are no agents of change. They won't contribute to any effort in society. All they do is sit back when people make an effort. Look at the efforts people individually and collectively are making to make Ghana better. Somebody sits back and says, but this person, how did he make so much in so little time? If you have evidence that he did it legitimately, go to state regulatory institutions to report. Let's be positive. And when positivity reverberates through the length and breadth of this country, that energy will give us the impetus to want to make Ghana the great nation we are all striving to make it. Just be positive. The Prophet said, Zunnu bil mu'minina khayra. Think positively about believers. Be positive. That is why in our law courts, you start on a plain sheet. Everybody in the docket as a defendant is considered innocent until the complainant has enough body of evidence to incriminate the person, to convince the judge to let the person do jail time. But you sit just because you have a smartphone or a laptop or a desktop computer, in a minute, you can write some of the most unpalatable things about people and go scot-free. We are a nation of no accountability. If not, the IP address you use to log onto any website to write any of those could be traced. And people can press charges against you. You have to prove in court why you are claiming they are who they are. Why you are claiming they made whatever they made through an illegitimate means. So what is your evidence? I hope this helps. Take care and bye-bye.